It was a day that began like any other on the sprawling ranch, the kind of quiet, sun-drenched morning where the only sounds were the rustle of leaves, the distant lowing of cattle, and the occasional hum of a tractor in the distance. For most visitors, a trip to the ranch promised tranquility, a temporary escape from the bustle of city life. The rolling fields, the scent of hay and soil, and the open expanse of sky created a sense of calm, a rare and almost therapeutic setting for anyone seeking a brief respite from their routines. But what happened that day was far from ordinary, and it quickly became a story that has since spread across social media and news outlets alike, drawing curiosity, speculation, and a touch of bewilderment from everyone who heard about it. According to multiple eyewitness accounts, the incident began innocuously. The rancher, a figure well known in the community for his larger-than-life personality and commanding presence, greeted a visitor who had come to the ranch, ostensibly to tour the property and perhaps gain some insight into the daily workings of a rural homestead. The visitor, unfamiliar with the rancher's eccentricities but eager to learn, had approached with a mixture of anticipation and polite caution, ready to engage in casual conversation. What started as a series of friendly exchanges quickly took an unexpected turn, catching the visitor off guard and leaving onlookers momentarily speechless. The first remark, which has since been quoted in multiple reports, was delivered in a calm, matter-of-fact tone. "Show me your feet." On the surface, it may have seemed like an odd request, almost absurd in its simplicity. To anyone hearing it, the statement might have evoked a mental image of a quirky ranching habit, a strange form of testing or verification related to farming practices, or perhaps a playful jest intended to lighten the mood. But for the visitor, who had not anticipated anything of the sort, the words carried an immediate shock, a momentary jolt that triggered confusion and unease. The request was delivered in such a straightforward manner, without any accompanying explanation, that it forced the visitor to pause, momentarily frozen between compliance and hesitation, uncertain how to respond to such an unexpected command. Eyewitnesses described the visitor's reaction as one of visible fluster, an almost instinctive recoil combined with a hesitant step backward. Her eyes widened, and her body language betrayed a mixture of embarrassment and apprehension. It was clear to those watching that the request had disrupted the rhythm of the interaction, injecting a sudden tension into what had previously been a calm and friendly engagement. Observers noted that the rancher, rather than immediately clarifying the request or offering context, allowed the silence to linger, a pause that seemed deliberately measured, as if gauging the visitor's response and observing the subtle micro-expressions that passed across her face. The situation became even more charged when the rancher took a step closer and repeated the request, this time with a tone that carried subtle emphasis, as though reinforcing its importance. The shift, though slight in volume, carried a weight that magnified the visitor's discomfort. What might have initially been interpreted as an eccentric or harmless joke now felt more pointed, more deliberate, and the visitor's reaction intensified accordingly. The combination of the unexpected verbal request, the proximity of the rancher, and the social pressure of being observed by others created a complex emotional cocktail, leaving her visibly flustered, unsure of how to navigate the unfolding moment. Social media users who later encountered clips of the incident were quick to comment on the unusual nature of the interaction. Some expressed amusement at the sheer absurdity of the request, while others voiced discomfort at the apparent imbalance of power in the exchange. "I don't understand the context, but watching her reaction is so awkward," wrote one viewer, encapsulating the mixture of curiosity and secondhand embarrassment that many felt. Another observer noted, "It's bizarre how something as simple as a request about feet can completely disrupt the dynamic between two people. There's clearly something more going on here psychologically." These reactions highlight the universal human experience of witnessing or hearing about interactions that defy conventional expectations, moments that unsettle and intrigue simultaneously. Behavioral analysts who later weighed in on the incident pointed to the importance of context, delivery, and perception in shaping how interactions are received. Even requests that are entirely innocent in intent can provoke strong reactions if they violate social norms, trigger feelings of vulnerability, or occur in a situation where the recipient is unprepared. In this case, the suddenness of the rancher's request, combined with his assertive presence, created a scenario in which the visitor felt both physically and emotionally exposed, despite there being no apparent threat. The subtle cues, the pause before repeating the request, the measured closeness, the neutral expression on the rancher's face, were enough to amplify her sense of discomfort, turning what might have been a mundane exchange into a memorable and unsettling encounter. Interestingly, those present at the ranch also observed that the rancher did not exhibit any overtly aggressive behavior. There was no yelling, no hostile gestures, and no indication of malice. Yet, the incident resonated so strongly precisely because it straddled the line between normalcy and the unexpected. It serves as a reminder that human interactions are rarely interpreted solely based on words. Tone, body language, timing, and the surrounding environment all play critical roles in shaping perception. A request as simple as "show me your feet" became an emotionally charged moment because it was unexpected, ambiguous, and delivered in a context where the visitor felt both observed and evaluated. The ripple effect of the encounter extended beyond those who witnessed it firsthand. Clips and accounts of the incident circulated widely online, prompting debates over intent, appropriateness, and social boundaries. Some commentators defended the rancher, suggesting that his behavior may have been rooted in local tradition, personal humor, or even a misunderstood method of teaching or demonstration. Others criticized the apparent disregard for the visitor's comfort, arguing that public interactions should always be guided by respect for personal boundaries, regardless of context or intent. The divergence of opinion underscores the complexity of interpreting human behavior, especially in moments where social norms are bent or blurred. Despite the awkwardness of the moment, the incident also highlighted the visitor's composure and restraint. Rather than reacting impulsively, she attempted to navigate the situation with grace, carefully considering her response while managing the internal swirl of emotions that the unexpected request had triggered. Her flustered reaction was natural, a reflection of the universal human experience of encountering the unforeseen and the socially ambiguous. Observers noted that her ability to maintain poise, even as she struggled with confusion and embarrassment, spoke to her resilience and social awareness. The incident at the ranch, though brief, ultimately became a story that transcended its immediate context. It prompted discussions not only about the peculiarities of human interaction, but also about the broader themes of communication, expectation, and perception. How do we interpret actions that defy conventional norms? What role does context play in shaping emotional responses? And how do individuals navigate situations in which the intent behind a request or statement is unclear? These questions have fueled conversations in both local and online communities, making the incident a subject of fascination and analysis far beyond the ranch itself. In retrospect, the morning that began with the promise of calm and routine became a memorable encounter that captured the attention of many, leaving a lasting impression on the visitor, the rancher, and those who witnessed it. What might have been dismissed as a quirky or minor interaction instead became a study in human behavior, highlighting the delicate interplay between words, intent, perception, and emotional response. The phrase "show me your feet," repeated with subtle insistence, serves as a reminder that even the simplest statements can carry weight, influence emotions, and spark reflection when delivered in an unexpected context. As the story continues to circulate, it is clear that the incident will be remembered not simply for its surface-level oddity, but for the nuanced insights it provides into how humans respond to the unforeseen, navigate ambiguity, and process social signals. The rancher's seemingly casual request, combined with the visitor's immediate and visible fluster, created a moment that resonates with anyone who has experienced the jolt of the unexpected, the tension of uncertainty, or the subtle power of context in shaping human interaction. The incident at the ranch did not end when the visitor left or when onlookers returned to their daily routines. On the contrary, the moment that had initially seemed bizarre and fleeting quickly became the subject of intense discussion across the community and online platforms. Local residents, accustomed to the rancher's larger-than-life persona and occasional eccentricities, found themselves grappling with a scenario that blurred the line between humor, social awkwardness, and personal boundaries. Social media feeds were flooded with reactions ranging from disbelief to amusement, but underlying the commentary was a shared fascination with the psychological and social dynamics at play. Observers debated not only what had happened, but why it had provoked such a strong reaction from the visitor, and by extension, from the audience who witnessed it virtually. Many local commentators suggested that the rancher's behavior, while unusual, was not necessarily malicious. Some pointed to the possibility of cultural or regional quirks, traditions, or even ranching practices that could explain the request. In rural communities, there are often strange but harmless habits passed down through generations, one local resident explained. Sometimes, what seems shocking to outsiders is completely ordinary to those familiar with the environment. Others speculated that the rancher's intent might have been humorous, intended as a playful icebreaker or a demonstration of trust, albeit delivered in a way that inadvertently caused discomfort. These interpretations reflected a desire among some community members to contextualize the moment as benign, emphasizing intent over immediate perception. However, a significant portion of observers disagreed, pointing out that intent alone does not absolve the impact of an interaction. Behavioral experts noted that even actions meant as jokes or harmless quirks could create feelings of vulnerability or embarrassment when social norms are violated. The situation demonstrates the complexity of human interaction, a social psychologist remarked. We are conditioned to interpret gestures, requests, and verbal cues based not only on the literal meaning, but also on context, tone, and the perceived relationship between the individuals involved. When any of these elements are misaligned, the result can be significant discomfort or confusion, regardless of the speaker's intent. This explanation resonated with many viewers who had witnessed the video, as it provided a framework for understanding why the visitor's reaction appeared so intense and immediate. The online reaction was equally varied. Some commenters expressed amusement, treating the event as a bizarre, almost surreal incident worthy of memes and lighthearted jokes. One widely shared post remarked, "Only on a ranch would someone ask to see your feet, and it's somehow become a national discussion." Others were more critical, highlighting concerns about consent, respect, and personal boundaries. These discussions often reference the subtle power dynamics inherent in the interaction. The rancher's familiarity with the environment and his established authority versus the visitor's relative vulnerability in an unfamiliar setting. Many argued that this imbalance heightened the visitor's sense of discomfort and made the request feel more intrusive than it might have under different circumstances. Media outlets quickly picked up the story, presenting it in a format reminiscent of human interest news reports. Local newspapers published detailed accounts, quoting both the rancher and the visitor, as well as eyewitnesses. The rancher maintained that there was no intent to embarrass or intimidate, explaining that the remark had been a miscommunicated attempt at humor. The visitor, meanwhile, acknowledged the flustered response, noting that while she understood the intent, the delivery had caught her completely off guard. "It wasn't what I expected," she admitted. "Even knowing it was supposed to be funny, I couldn't help feeling a little uncomfortable in the moment. It was confusing, and it definitely made me pause." The duality of perspectives highlighted the broader tension between intention and perception, a theme that became central to the public discourse surrounding the incident. Experts in human behavior emphasized that the reaction of the visitor was neither unusual nor disproportionate. In social interactions, humans are wired to respond to unexpected or ambiguous cues with heightened alertness, particularly when there is a potential for embarrassment or social judgment. The visitor's flustered response, coupled with her careful management of composure, was consistent with typical coping mechanisms in such situations. By pausing, stepping back, and processing the request, she demonstrated a natural effort to navigate uncertainty while maintaining self-respect and social etiquette. This observation was echoed by commentators who framed the incident as a microcosm of the challenges inherent in communication. Navigating tone, context, body language, and social expectations in real time. As the story gained traction, local forums became hubs for debate, with participants weighing multiple dimensions of the incident. Some argued that the rancher had crossed a line, emphasizing that even in informal settings, there is a baseline expectation for respect and consideration of others' comfort. They contended that a public request, regardless of intent, should never compromise someone's sense of personal space or dignity. Others maintained that the incident reflected nothing more than a humorous misunderstanding, cautioning against overanalyzing a single interaction that, at its core, caused no lasting harm. The discussion often touched on broader social themes, including the balance between humor and sensitivity, the role of environment in shaping behavior, and the subjective nature of perceived boundaries that in addition to social commentary. The incident prompted reflections on the role of social media in amplifying everyday occurrences. The rapid circulation of clips and accounts transformed a private, fleeting interaction into a widely debated public event. Psychologists noted that the viral nature of such incidents can magnify emotional reactions, and create an exaggerated sense of significance. What might have been a minor, quickly forgotten encounter in a rural setting became, through the lens of online discourse, a case study in human interaction, boundary negotiation, and the complexities of perception. Observers commented on the almost performative quality that arises when private moments are shared in public forums, where audiences interpret, judge, and reframe events according to their own experiences and social norms. The incident also sparked conversation about education and awareness regarding personal space and social cues. Some suggested that the rancher, despite his experience and familiarity with the environment, could have benefited from a heightened understanding of social signals, particularly when interacting with individuals unfamiliar with the setting. Others extended this observation to a broader lesson. In all social interactions, even well-intentioned gestures can be misinterpreted if delivered without sensitivity to context or the recipient's perspective. The discussion highlighted the importance of empathy, awareness, and careful communication, reinforcing the idea that human interactions, while often governed by implicit rules, require active mindfulness to navigate effectively. Interestingly, the visitor's response became a focal point for discussions about resilience and composure under social pressure. Analysts noted that her ability to remain relatively calm, despite initial fluster and discomfort, reflected a sophisticated awareness of social dynamics. Rather than reacting impulsively or escalating tension, she managed the situation with poise, navigating a moment of ambiguity with thoughtfulness and restraint. This aspect of the incident sparked admiration and support from online audiences, who emphasized the importance of emotional intelligence in managing unexpected or awkward situations. Many argued that her reaction, rather than the rancher's initial statement, offered a powerful example of grace under pressure, inspiring reflection on how individuals respond to social uncertainty in everyday life. As the story circulated further, it became clear that the incident had grown beyond the confines of a single ranch, capturing the imagination and attention of audiences who recognized in it something universal: the unpredictability of human interaction, the delicate balance of social cues, and the profound influence of context on perception. The seemingly simple request, "Show me your feet," evolved into a lens through which broader questions about communication, intent, perception, and personal boundaries could be examined. People from diverse backgrounds engaged with the story, reflecting on their own experiences with awkward or unexpected social situations, and offering insight into how minor interactions can leave lasting impressions. The debate also revealed generational differences in interpretation. Older residents of the community tended to view the incident with a focus on context and tradition, suggesting that rural environments often nurture idiosyncratic behaviors that may be misinterpreted by outsiders. Younger audiences, particularly those active on social media, often emphasize consent, personal comfort, and the subtleties of verbal and nonverbal communication. This generational contrast illuminated how perceptions of social interactions can vary widely depending on life experience, cultural norms, and exposure to D. In the wake of the incident on the ranch, conversations continued long after the initial event had passed, evolving into a broader reflection on boundaries, social awareness, and the complexity of human interactions. What had begun as a peculiar and somewhat amusing occurrence, a simple, unexpected request to show me your feet, transformed into a moment that prompted both personal reflection and public dialogue. For many, the incident underscored the importance of understanding that even seemingly minor actions can carry significant emotional weight, particularly when they occur in contexts where social expectations and norms are not fully aligned. The rancher, who had been at the center of the encounter, addressed the public with a statement intended to clarify his intentions and calm any growing concern. In interviews with local media, he emphasized that his remark had been meant as a lighthearted comment, devoid of any malicious intent or desire to embarrass the visitor. He explained that his life on the ranch, surrounded by animals, tasks, and unconventional routines, sometimes cultivated a sense of humor and informality that could be misinterpreted by those unfamiliar with the environment. He expressed regret for any discomfort caused, acknowledging that while he had not intended to provoke an awkward reaction, the outcome demonstrated the unpredictable nature of human interaction. His statement reflected an awareness that even unintentional actions can affect others, reinforcing the idea that mindfulness and empathy are essential in all social exchanges. For the visitor, the experience left a more complex emotional imprint. While she recognized the lack of harmful intent, she also acknowledged the dissonance between intention and perception. The initial shock and flustered response lingered in memory, prompting reflection on how personal boundaries are perceived, communicated, and sometimes tested in subtle ways. In interviews, she emphasized that while the encounter had been uncomfortable, it also served as an important reminder of the need for assertiveness and self-awareness in social situations. She spoke candidly about the internal dialogue she experienced during the interaction, noting that her instinctive hesitation and careful management of composure highlighted the delicate balance between politeness and self-protection. Her reflections resonated with many observers who recognized in her experience a universal challenge: navigating unexpected requests, ambiguous behavior, and the subtle pressures of social performance. The broader community reaction further reinforced the incident's significance. People from diverse backgrounds contributed to discussions about appropriate behavior, consent, and communication, emphasizing that context alone does not excuse actions that may cause discomfort. While some defended the rancher's approach as a quirky or harmless expression of personality, others stressed that social awareness requires more than intention. It requires attentiveness to the impact of one's words and actions. These conversations extended beyond the local community, gaining traction online, where social media users dissected the incident from multiple angles. Commentary ranged from humorous interpretations to serious debates about power dynamics, boundaries, and the subtle ways social hierarchies influence behavior. The diversity of responses underscored the layered complexity of human interaction and the difficulty of establishing universal norms that account for both intent and perception. Experts in human behavior and social psychology noted that incidents like this offer a unique window into how humans process social stimuli and navigate uncertainty. When confronted with ambiguous requests or unexpected behaviors, individuals often experience heightened alertness, internal conflict, and rapid decision-making. The visitor's flustered response exemplified this process, demonstrating a natural attempt to reconcile internal expectations with external pressures. Analysts emphasized that moments of discomfort, while challenging, are also opportunities for growth, reflection, and increased social intelligence. By examining her reaction and the broader public response, observers could gain insight into the nuanced interplay between personal boundaries, social norms, and the ways in which individuals assert agency within unfamiliar contexts. The incident also sparked a broader conversation about empathy and the responsibility individuals carry in their interactions with others. Social commentators highlighted that awareness of how actions are received is as critical as understanding one's own intentions. Even in environments perceived as informal or casual, the impact of words and gestures can be profound. The rancher's remark, though minor in its literal content, exemplified how a small, ambiguous action can create disproportionate emotional effects depending on timing, delivery, and the recipient's state of mind. This realization prompted reflection not only among those directly involved, but also among audiences who recognized parallels in their own experiences with miscommunication, unintended offense, or social awkwardness. For many observers, the incident became an educational moment, illustrating the importance of clear communication and respect for personal boundaries. Discussions emphasized that humor, familiarity, or informal settings do not automatically grant permission to breach someone's comfort zone. The narrative surrounding the rancher and the visitor provided a compelling case study in social ethics, highlighting the necessity of balancing personal expression with consideration for others' perspectives. In this sense, the incident transcended its initial context, offering lessons applicable to workplaces, social gatherings, and public interactions of all kinds. The visitor's response also became a focal point for discussions about emotional resilience. Despite the discomfort and initial fluster, she maintained composure, navigating a moment of ambiguity with thoughtful deliberation rather than impulsive reaction. Analysts praised her approach as an example of practical emotional intelligence, recognizing discomfort, assessing the situation, and responding in a manner that upheld dignity while minimizing escalation. This aspect of the incident resonated with audiences worldwide, many of whom shared personal anecdotes of similar encounters where quick thinking and poise had prevented misunderstandings or conflict. The story, therefore, extended beyond a single awkward moment to illustrate broader principles of social navigation, self-awareness, and interpersonal skill. As the weeks passed, the story remained a point of reference in discussions about social etiquette, human behavior, and the unpredictability of interpersonal interactions. Educational platforms, local community groups, and online forums revisited the incident, using it to facilitate conversation about consent, situational awareness, and the subtleties of communication. Teachers, psychologists, and social commentators highlighted its relevance in understanding the intersection of context, intent, and perception, noting that even minor, seemingly innocuous actions can serve as springboards for meaningful reflection. The incident also prompted the rancher to reevaluate his approach to social interactions. In follow-up statements, he expressed a commitment to being more mindful of how his actions are perceived, recognizing that humor and familiarity must be tempered by awareness of individual comfort levels. He acknowledged that while his personality and lifestyle often embrace informality, the experience highlighted the value of sensitivity and respect in maintaining positive relationships with visitors, community members, and employees alike. This willingness to reflect and adjust behavior served as a constructive outcome, demonstrating that even awkward or challenging encounters can lead to personal growth and improved social awareness. For the visitor, the event has become an enduring reference point for understanding personal boundaries and assertiveness. She spoke candidly about the importance of trusting one's instincts, articulating discomfort when necessary, and navigating social ambiguity with confidence and composure. Her reflections resonated with many who have encountered similar situations, reinforcing the idea that personal agency, empathy, and careful judgment are essential components of effective social engagement. The incident, while unusual, offered a clear example of how awareness, communication, and emotional intelligence intersect in real-world interactions. Ultimately, the encounter on the ranch, seemingly minor in its immediate scope, revealed profound insights into human behavior, social expectations, and the complex dynamics of interpersonal communication. It highlighted the delicate balance between intent and impact, the unpredictable effects of context and delivery, and the importance of empathy, awareness, and resilience in navigating ambiguity. By examining the incident, both the rancher and the visitor, along with the broader community, engaged in a process of reflection and dialogue that transformed an awkward moment into a valuable lesson on social awareness and emotional intelligence. The story's lasting relevance lies not in the peculiarity of the remark itself, but in its broader implications for understanding human interaction. It serves as a reminder that even brief, unexpected moments can leave a lasting impression, prompting reflection, discussion, and personal growth. The incident illustrates that navigating social situations effectively requires attentiveness, empathy. As the story reached its turning point, the rancher found himself standing in a moment he never imagined. One where the quiet strength he carried for years was suddenly seen, honored, and uplifted by the very tribe that had once regarded him with unforgiving caution. The Apache women had not softened because of charm or chance. They softened because they finally understood the weight he carried alone and the sincerity behind his every action. It wasn't the story of a man winning admiration through bold heroics. It was the quieter, often unnoticed story of a man who had lived a life of endurance, kindness, and humility, and only now were those qualities being recognized for what they truly were. He had expected resistance forever. He had expected suspicion to shadow every step he took. But what he hadn't expected was the gradual shift that began with the younger tribe members watching him work, listening to how he spoke about land, water, animals, and people as though every one of them mattered. The tribe saw that he approached everything with respect, never with entitlement. That simple consistency had more power than any grand gesture. It dismantled the idea that he was just another outsider trespassing where he didn't belong. The women of the tribe, strong in body and spirit, were not moved by flattery or performance. They were moved by truth, and the rancher's life was built upon it. So when he helped mend the corral fence after the storm, they noticed. When he shared supplies he could barely spare, they paid attention. When he refused to take credit for anything and instead insisted the tribe deserved the praise, the elders exchanged looks that carried the beginning of respect. There was no moment where everything changed at once. It happened slowly, steadily, like dawn spreading across open land. Gentle, inevitable, and deeply felt, it wasn't long before they began speaking to him not as an outsider, but as someone worth listening to. Their questions shifted from guarded and practical to curious and warm. They asked about his ranch, about the life he lived alone, about the losses he had experienced but never mentioned unless asked directly. The tribe valued honesty, and the rancher offered it without hesitation. He didn't pretend his life had been heroic. He admitted it had been lonely, sometimes unbearably so. But he also made it clear that he chose kindness not because life was easy, but because it was the only way he knew how to honor the people he lost. Over time, this openness did something unexpected. It made the tribe protective of him. They began inviting him into circles he never imagined being welcome in. The hunters offered him food before he could refuse. The older women insisted he sit with them when they cooked, sharing stories and jokes he once thought he'd never be part of. And the younger women, once wary of his presence, now laughed with him, teased him gently, and sought his opinion on matters they knew he would answer thoughtfully. The rancher wasn't used to being valued on this level. For years, he lived with the quiet certainty that no one truly needed him. Now he found himself surrounded by people who not only appreciated him, but trusted him with responsibilities inside their community. The shift was overwhelming at times. Gratitude mixed with disbelief. He had spent so long surviving on solitude that connection felt like unfamiliar territory. Yet he welcomed it, because it wasn't built on pretense. It was built on the tribe seeing him for who he really was. The tribal leader finally acknowledged him in front of the community. Something broke open inside the rancher, something old, tired, and heavy. Acceptance had a way of healing wounds that had been ignored for years. And as that acceptance grew, so did his understanding. The tribe didn't just admire his character, they genuinely liked him. They saw the complexities he carried and embraced him anyway. In their eyes, he was not a burden, not an outsider, not a threat. He was a man worthy of respect, companionship, and even affection. The women who once crossed their arms around him now crossed paths intentionally to speak with him. They smiled openly. They laughed freely in his presence. They invited him to gatherings not out of obligation, but out of genuine desire to have him there. Some looked at him with an admiration deeper than surface appreciation, an admiration that could grow into something tender if he ever allowed it. But the rancher didn't rush. For perhaps the first time, he felt that he belonged somewhere without needing to prove himself.